Welcome to Tombstone Creek Outfitting. It is our goal to make sure that you have a successful, memorable, fun, enjoyable hunting trip, and we're doing everything possible to try to help you meet your bow hunting goals. Our properties are owned and mostly leased. We do the best we can to minimize intrusion. There is really nothing we can do about landowners removing crops, etc. We do our best to try to maintain the properties and make sure that your hunting experience will be enjoyable during your time at Tombstone Creek Outfitting. Before anybody goes into the field, you need to make sure that you have the proper hunting license, that it's signed, and you've signed a hunter's release of liability and hunting agreement from Tombstone Creek Outfitting. So make sure your paperwork is done, and then we'll take you out and show you the properties that you're going to be hunting. When you get into camp, you will be assigned a cabin. Please park in the designated area to keep the driveway open so we can get back and forth and in and out of camp uninterrupted. If you need more storage, please use your vehicles to store items or let us know. We have other buildings and a garage that we can put items in. It's very important that we park in the designated areas, as a couple times a week our dumpster's emptied, and if there's something blocking it, they won't empty. We need to get that thing emptied so we can keep the flow going throughout camp. It's our goal to get everybody that's in camp on a deer and make sure they have a successful hunt. As you know, this is bow hunting white-tailed deer. It's not easy. A lot of things can happen. We just recommend that you follow the wind direction, advice from our guides, do the best you can to put yourself in a good position, a good situation every day, every morning, to give yourself that possibility of becoming lucky. We believe that's how you make your luck, by being smart, hunting the wind, being keen, being stealth, getting into your stand. Very important. We've noticed that hunters that follow these principles actually have a much higher success rate than people that don't. This is a semi-guided deer hunt, although we do offer a lot of instructions on the properties that you're hunting, as we have a lot of the history. We recommend that you use one of our tree stands when you start and then make adjustments to deer as your hunt unfolds. We do have tree stands set up in predetermined locations in travel areas, on food plots, in pinch points, just where chunks of woods come together. We do have a very good starting point for you, but if you can make that adjustment, such as seeing a deer on the next ridge over, or coming out on the other end of a freshly picked field, or some other kind of sign, if you can make an adjustment and move to those deer, once again, your success rate will be much higher. Please leave gates the way you find them. Some properties do have gates that are locked. We'll get you a key, and park in the designated areas. The landowners may ask to see ID. That is okay, that's in our lease contract. Go ahead and show them your ID if they ask for it. Please leave all gates and fences or anything on the properties exactly the way you find them, unless otherwise instructed. It's okay to cut shooting lanes as you hang tree stands up. We just ask that you cut the branches that go vertical flush with the tree, and the smaller trees that you're going to cut that are vertical, that you cut them off low. So basically by the next season, everything grows and you can't tell anything was done. We just don't want to leave a bad impression to our landowners and deface the woods by cutting off branches way away from the tree that are vertical, and cutting trees like at waist level, as to not bend down as you're cutting the trees. So let's just keep everything looking really good and clean in the woods. Then it's okay to pretty much do whatever you need to do when you're making your adjustments and hanging either your hang-on stands or using a climber. We really recommend that you have at least one form of transportation for every 2 hunters. Our hunts are very economical, and that's because you provide your own transportation to and from the stands. We will help with game recovery once you make a shot. But before that, you will be transporting yourself to and from the stand. So limiting yourself on transportation is not a good thing. Please exercise extreme safety while you're in the woods. We recommend you always use a safety harness, and we recommend you bring a comfortable cushion to sit on, a bow holder, and a pull rope. Most of the stands have this, but with squirrels, raccoons, other small critters, and just the weather, sometimes these items just end up in not real good shape when you get there. Once again, we realize not everybody is going to take a trophy deer on this hunt. We will work very hard, and the one thing we can guarantee is we will keep trying to put you on deer. These deer are free-ranging, and they can do whatever they want. They can go wherever they want. If you can please just be cautious, be smart about the way you approach, the way you go into the woods, I promise it will help make your success rate much greater. Our management goals are to take 3.5-year-old or older bucks on our properties. We will also discuss what your goals are for this hunt, and we will make it work. In other words, if you've never shot a buck before, or you haven't taken a big deer, you may want to shoot a 2.5-year-old deer. That's acceptable. Let's just discuss that before your hunt starts. If you need help identifying the age class of deer or judging the score of a deer, we will gladly help you. We have a lot of great tips on how to do that. One of them is just by using the ear, which is 6 inches from the middle of the butt to the end, as a tape measure. That's 6 inches long. We also use the diameter of the horn. If you could imagine pulling the horn out of the head, and if it covers the eye, that is a really good gauge for us to try to determine what the mass is of the deer. Ask myself or one of the guys that are in camp. We will gladly give you some instruction on what to look for to help judge the mass. We really don't want you to be afraid to shoot a deer. I mean, that's why you're coming to Missouri. You're coming to Missouri to shoot a deer, and occasionally the wrong deer does get shot, or one that's smaller than what you judge. And that's just hunting. That is going to happen. I don't want you to be afraid. If things happen quickly and the wow factor's there, then you're going to shoot the deer and we'll deal with it afterwards. The only thing that really makes us upset is if you shoot a deer on your last day or two, a small buck, a small, let's say, 1.5-year-old basket 8, just so you can fill your deer tag. You're coming to Missouri to hunt trophy deer or to shoot a buck of a lifetime. If that's your first buck and you're happy taking it and it's legal, we're going to be happy for you. We just ask that you please don't shoot a young buck just so that you can fill your tag. You do get a doe tag with your license, and if you want to bring some meat home, you're welcome to shoot a doe. Please don't shoot the small bucks on purpose just so that you can fill your tag. A lot of people ask about shooting does, and we love it when people shoot does. It's a great way to keep the herd in check. You also have to realize that if you do that, you are going to affect your ability to take a big deer. A lot of times on a morning hunt or something, if it's getting late in the morning and you have a chance to shoot a doe, that's probably a good time to do it. Or after you've taken your buck, if you want to continue to hunt, you do have the tag, you can continue to hunt for a doe. Once you've actually arrowed a deer, we recommend that you really keep a close eye on exactly where you've seen it last and mentally mark that spot. Wait a little bit, sneak out of your stand, and come back to camp. We would really not like you to go after the deer. We want to give the deer plenty of time. You can come back to camp, we'll discuss the hit, and then we'll put a plan together to go recover it. We do help with game recovery, and we'd really like to be there just in case it gets off the property that we're hunting, and so that we can make a call as to how far to go if things are not turning out as it unfolds. If the hit is marginal, especially if it's back, we are going to give the deer lots of time. If it's an evening hunt, we're probably going to wait till morning to go out and get the deer. We really recommend that you plan on your last evening of hunting, spending the night, or at least making plans so you can if you hit one. We don't want to get into a situation where we have to push a gut shot deer. We want to wait till morning before we go out and track it. We've gotten into trouble before, but after doing this for several years, we know, and I'm sure you know, it's the right thing to do to give it a lot of time. If you do shoot a deer and you watch it go down, it is okay to grab it and bring it back to camp. We ask that you do not gut the deer in the field. We want to bring them back to camp and gut everything back in camp. Our pictures will turn out better and we'll keep the woods cleaner. We won't have coyotes in there like we would if we leave gut piles out in the woods. Missouri has a call-in registration system. When you get back to camp, we'll get some photos, and before we cut the deer up, we need to call it in. We're supposed to call it in by 10 p.m. the evening that we shoot the deer. If it gets past 10 p.m., we'll go ahead and call it in anyways. If we give the deer a little bit of time and end up recovering it by midnight, we're still going to call it in as soon as we recover the deer. We do have an area in camp set up to take care of cutting up the deer. Normally what we do is just quarter them and put them in the freezer. If you would like to cut your own deer up or process it, we have an area for that. We're going to just focus on getting the deer in the freezer, and if it's a buck, getting it caped. Or if you would rather do this yourself or not have somebody mess with your deer, that's completely acceptable. We'll do whatever you want. We do have a place to dispose of all the carcasses and bones. We will take care of that. We also have a local guy that has been processing deer for us. We can discuss that after you shoot your deer if you think you'd like to do that. Everybody knows that hunting white-tailed deer is very challenging and very frustrating sometimes. Once again, we will work really hard to try to get you on a white-tailed buck. If you have any problems at any time, please let us know ASAP. We want to try to address any kind of problems or issues that you have immediately while you're in camp. In other words, if you get home and send me an email and ask why you had to hunt this farm or why we did this or why we did that, it will be impossible for us to try to help you. It's already after the fact. We really do want to help you, and if you're reasonable, we're reasonable. Sometimes you get a lot of people in camp and things just happen. We may overlook things, so we most certainly do not have a problem with you asking questions as to why this, why that, or as to the status of things that are unfolding as your hunt's going on. I promise you, we have a very good reputation and we want to keep it that way. We want to try to keep you on deer and keep you happy and coming back. Our repeat customer rate is very high and we want to keep it that way. One thing we've learned over the last decade plus in doing this is that hunting is so mental, and the people that keep their head in the game are the ones that can be successful. I call it the third day blues. When you get to the third day and you start to mentally check out or get frustrated, it's going to make it very difficult for you to finish your hunt. We have had many people shoot their deer on the fourth or fifth day of the hunt, but I can guarantee you if you're giving up already mentally on the third day, it's not going to happen. If you can somehow get yourself to remain positive and to keep pushing forward, that's where you're going to be successful. You're in a great place on great properties that have a lot of great deer. I promise you all the trail cam pictures that we have on our website, on Facebook, have come off our properties. These deer are here. They're not going to be easy to kill. And if you can mentally be positive, that's going to give you a lot better chance to get it done. Illegal drugs are not permitted on the property. We do allow the use of alcohol. Hey, you're on vacation and after your hunt is over, if you want to have a couple of beers or a mixed drink, absolutely not a problem. We do ask that you be considerate of others as you will be sharing a camp with many other people during your hunt. In other words, if you shoot a deer on the first day and you want to stay up late every night and get drunk and keep other people awake in camp, that's not going to be cool. We really rarely ever have a problem with this because traveling bow hunters are very considerate and they understand why everybody's there, but I just want to mention it because it has happened a few times in the past. Hopefully during your time in camp, you will meet and make lots of good new friends. We are all bow hunters, we've all traveled a long ways, and we all have the same goals in mind. Once again, remember, we're living together for these 5 days and we are roommates. When larger groups are in camp, we need to coordinate keeping things clean in the house. So if we all pitch in, helping out, keeping the dishes clean, keeping the bathrooms and showers clean, keeping the floors clean, keeping the house clean, etc., it's going to make things a lot better in camp for everybody and make your hunt much more enjoyable. If we all pitch in a little bit, things will go really smooth. Also, when you're in the woods and you run across our scouting cameras, please leave them alone. Several times we've had people pull the cards out of the camera, bring it back to camp, and if we switch spots, it's possible we may not be back there for several weeks. Now we're not collecting any data on our scouting cameras. Also, sometimes people stick them into their card readers or their phone, and it loads drivers on the card so it can communicate with your device. Then when you put it back in the camera and turn it on, we get errors. So please leave the cameras alone. Do not touch them unless we ask you. We may sometimes send a card with you and have you swap it out. We will give you a formatted card if we ask you to do that. Otherwise, if you run across cameras, please leave them alone. After your hunt is through, please leave the cabins the way you found them. Our hunts, once again, are very economical because you provide your own transportation to and from the stand, you're cooking your own meals, bringing your own food, and also we don't have a maid or we don't have a cleaning service that comes in and cleans up after each group. You just leave the cabin the way you found it, we'll change the sheets on the bed, and we're ready for the next group. Within about 30 minutes of camp, there are several restaurants available if you'd like to go out to eat. Ask myself or one of the guys, we'll get you hooked up so you know where to go. Thank you so much for hunting with Tombstone Creek Outfitting. If you have any questions or want any clarification on anything that I've talked about, please look up myself or one of the guys. We'll be glad to give you all the information that you need. And we wish you a successful, safe, happy, fulfilling hunt.